Okay, we're not live. So, hello, welcome to or welcome back to our Jawbreaker series, Jiggle and Juice's Jawbreaker series. I'm Georgia Took, and this is my beautiful ride or die, Shay Miles. I'm here in Canada, and Shay is in Scotland. But one day we'll be together again. Before we jump into this episode, I kind of just want to talk about the changes we've made because Jawbreakers is looking a little different this time. We got a bit of a glow up.
Oh yeah, I think we definitely need to just talk about our glow up because it's something that deserves talking about.
Well, this has kind of been sort of in the back of our mind in the works for quite some time now. Because I've been wanting to have a podcast component. Shay has been wanting to have a transcribed component. And so for season 1 last year, the reason why we were just doing Instagram lives was because it was just the easiest thing to do. We weren't doing any post-production. It was film, post to IGTV, and set it, forget it. But then season 2, we started using our website a lot more. We wanted to upload it to YouTube to put it on the website. And then Shay has been like taking the time to transcribe every episode. And so we were like, okay, if we're putting in more effort now to post-production, I think we might as well take it all the way and get proper microphones so we can do a podcast version. So you can now listen, watch, or read it. So whatever you're comfortable with. And also just change the format a little bit.
I think, yeah, this series fucking deserves it though. Like, I love doing this, and I think we've got loads of like amazing episode ideas in the works this year. So why not just do it now? Like, we started this just for fun, and then like it's become something we used to do it twice a month, and then now we do it monthly. So like, why not invest in making it the best we can?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it started as just you and I really enjoying talking about art and art topics, art related topics. And I feel like it's just really like grown from then. And so we should grow with it.
Fully, I agree. So we haven't even addressed what the title of this episode. You'll probably just see it in the title below, but we are talking, so the title of the episode is The Grotesque and the Gut-Wrenching, a deep dive into the worlds of Paul McCarthy and Rebecca Goyette. So I guess like the main reason we kind of like, we should talk about that too. So
what this whole thing?
As a side note, yeah, we are hoping to maybe like do a little bit more like costuming on the Jawbreaker series, and we thought if you're familiar with Paul McCarthy's work anyway, you'll know that he uses like condiments, which we'll get into, and we just thought it'd be funny if we were like, and we also both use food in our practices, so it would just be cute if we like were inspired by such condiments. So today I am modeling Heinz ketchup realness, and then Georgia is over there with her beautiful mayo vibes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, costume, what are you talking about? This is real.
This is all real, girl. This is all real.
But yeah, we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah. So I think we've wanted to talk about Paul McCarthy for a while. Like, I've been a stan for like the longest time, and I know that you have too, Georgia. And we were kind of thinking like, we've had some feedback in the past that people like our kind of like compare and contrast artist episode. So we were thinking like, who the fuck is comparable to Paul McCarthy? Like, we genuinely were kind of like, we were gonna just put this one on the back burner. And then I for my 4th year research, I stumbled upon Rebecca Goyette like by accident and fell in love. And like, I think at the time I shared that with you as well, and I was like, girl, look at this. And I don't think you maybe like looked into it as much as obviously we have now, because you weren't like a proper like stan. So I feel like when I was looking through my sketchbooks to be like who would be comparable and who would be an interesting kind of like person to critique alongside Paul McCarthy, and I was like, this is it, this is the only person. So yeah, we're gonna dive into the works and the worlds of these two amazing artists.
But also if anyone else knows any other artists that work in this sort of way, please let us know. Because when we were first like, oh, like let's find out who's similar to Paul McCarthy, our search really turned up nothing, because everything we typed into Google was like, did you mean Paul McCartney? Like, no, we didn't. So anyways, yeah, if anyone else like knows any other artist that works in this distinct way, please let us know.
Comment below.
Yes. So let's start with Paul McCarthy, because he's definitely, I think, more well known. Well, definitely, I don't think he is more well known. So do you want to start off with a bit about Man of the Hour?
Yes. So kind of like an overview of his practice. He plays on popular illusions and cultural myths. So things like fantasy and the distortion of reality, and also like has this kind of like really repulsive, but in our opinion, delicious exploration of the subconscious and themes surrounding that kind of vibe. He utilizes the human figure a lot in his work as well. It is a constant. And either that's through his own performances, so using his own body, his own figure, or different characters that he creates, and what they kind of challenge and portray, is like the kind of like the challenging of our fundamental beliefs, like the way we think the world works. Paul McCarthy will take it, spin it on its head, and shit it out, as we have
in a literal sense sometimes.
In a literal sense, yeah. So he often plays with like really oversized characters and objects, so he'll kind of like take everything to the very, very, very extreme. And they critique, in terms of character, they'll usually critique the world from which he's drawn them. So whether that's like Hollywood, politics, science, or TV, like it's always go big or go home with Paul McCarthy.
Well, he takes like larger than life like characters and people, like when you like dressed up as George Bush, the Queen of England, and Osama bin Laden in Piccadilly Circus. Like he takes these larger than life people and like enlarges them even more to like play on the whole comedy of that. And like his whole thing is bringing the high low, bringing high art low, bringing high class low, bringing good taste into like nothingness.
No, really, like that's something that is really like amazing about his work, that you really just kind of like, you don't really know what to do with it. Like when you see something that makes you feel like that, you really don't know what to do with it. And I think that's like a massive part of his work as well, is just being like, what the fuck am I supposed to think here? Like, what is this? And there was a point where I really like didn't know if I should like this. Like, is this something I'm supposed to like? Is this something that I'm supposed to relate to? And like the answer is definitely like up to you, you know, like whether you might not like his work at all, you might think it's absolutely fucking vile, and then that kind of like challenging that notion is the whole point. Like he doesn't make something pretty to put on the wall, you know. Another thing that is really interesting about him as well is he acts like a kid in his work. So he like kind of descends into these like food flinging frenzies where he's like going mental with the food or with his like medium that he's working with in that specific video. He also works a lot primarily with video sculpture and performance. I didn't mention that before, but so yeah, there's like it's usually about like analyzing existence, and whether that's existence within yourself as an individual or whether that's like a society based expression of existence, that is something that he really like plays with quite a lot. And when I'm talking about like him acting like a kid, like he's being really playful and like has these weird kind of like voices and makes these weird noises and stuff, like his obvious like adultness, like the way he looks as a man, like he is, even when he was in his 20s doing performance works in the 70s, he like was a rugged, tall, like burly dude, like so his your perception of him as a person, but then the way that he actually acts and the things he does in his videos are just so kind of unsettling, with the way that he acts like this kid. And I think that like challenges the kind of perception and myths around the innocence of childhood, and like the fact that maybe it's not all like, you know, roses and like sunshine and rainbows, like that's not necessarily what everyone's childhood is like. And yeah, so he also taps in a lot into like consumerism and sex as well, which is one of the things that first drew him to me, because I was obviously doing a lot of research in terms of like psychosexual analysis and things like that. So something that I really kind of found interesting was his kind of take on consumerism, especially like through the use of food, and his comments on that. And he uses like something off of that he uses food in like a really sort of refined context and in a really refined condition that is so amazingly planned but seems so spontaneous. So food as we see it is, you know, something that sustains us and something that we don't really think very much about. It's like a daily thing. But then obviously when you take food into like a societal context, there's things like, you know, eroticized food ads and like cookbook style sex books. Like that's like the way that sometimes this parallel does exist. But McCarthy takes the way that we're used to seeing and dealing with food and just like smears it all in our face, and is just like a massive like fuck you to society, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like there's so much more that like you and I like we're going to unpack with food, but we want to do it like in comparison with Rebecca Goyette. So we're going to put a pin in that as well, because there's just so much there. But I feel like enough of us talking just for a minute. With this new way we're doing things, we want to show you some of his work. And so we're just going to show the first minute of, I think, our absolute favorite video ever, put on by Henny Talks. And it's just this art critic named Robert Storr, who talks about Paul McCarthy and like talks about him in such a way that like, just like with such a reverence. Like, I feel like you can't watch this video and not like be like, I don't know, swayed to be like, how could I not like be so intrigued by Paul McCarthy? You don't have to like him by any means, but like wants to know more, you know?
Yeah, this guy is a Paul McCarthy stan. Like you know, when you like, for example, when you hear me talk about Doja Cat, like you would know that I feel like that when you have a passion for somebody or someone's craft and you speak about it so passionately, it doesn't matter if you fucking don't like them, or like, I think that exudes onto you. And this guy, he like loves Paul McCarthy and is one of the main reasons, like one of the main people that helped me to contextualize my understanding of his work. So love this dude.
Love him. We are obviously going to link the video down below. It's I think a 15-minute video, but it goes by in a second. And just don't watch it when you're eating your lunch. Just try to do that one time. It didn't go well. Okay, so I'm going to screen share and
keep your horrible desktop.
Oh my gosh, exposed.
So we strive to be a compassionate, decent, hopeful society.
It's almost impossible not to pay attention to what he does. It's almost impossible to pay attention to it for a sustained period of time without becoming nauseous. One of the purposes of doing all this work was not simply to create an avant-garde scandal. Certainly he doesn't mind doing that, but that's not the motive. The motive is to get to a very primal state of imaginative activity and to get the viewer there as fast as possible. I think Paul McCarthy is, like many other artists, conscious of his context. And I think he is indeed satirizing human disposition, human taboos, and the world that's around him.
I love that we paused on that because I fucking love that work.
Oh, it's so good.
I think that video, like, just we kind of wanted to show that because it's all well and good like us kind of rambling on about things, and obviously you can like do your own research, but I just think that that video is such a good gives us such a good insight to somebody who's maybe not familiar with his work as to like what it looks like this is what we're on about. Like, I think it was to have it all in quick succession like that, I think is so amazing. Like, I love that little reel.
Yeah, totally. And it just gives such like, he has just such a range of work and has obviously been like a working artist for decades now. So we could go on to talk about a little bit about two of the works that we've selected. I know that you were just chatting about him, but I'm curious, why did you pick Sailor's Meat, made in 1975, of all the works to talk about?
So I picked Sailor's Meat because it was one of the first ones I ever actually like looked into, like from his body of work, and I remember just feeling so like, I don't know, I just felt it just made me feel something that art has never made me feel, and it was not in a good way. And at the time I really didn't know what to do about that. I was kind of like, I feel like I'm quite at art school I was very much like not told what to like, but like there was definitely something around that kind of, this is who to look at, this is who this is like your short list of people that we're going to actually reference to you, but the art world is just so much more than that. And when I came across Paul McCarthy, that was by myself, and I think it was one of the first people that I kind of felt a little bit like dirty. I kind of felt like a little bit like, you know, I was sitting in bed like watching this like, or looking at these images, and I was just kind of like, oh my god, this is just like so vile. And then I was like, okay, I kind of like that, maybe I want to make work that's gross and makes people uncomfortable. And since then, like, he's influenced my work on so many levels, like and he's kind of like helped to abolish my idea of like aesthetic. So I'm working on a series just now called Amateur, which I've posted two I guess short films onto my Instagram, where like I just shoot them on my phone. They're like one take, and like that was very much inspired by him, and the fact that like people messaged the first one, I was like sucking milk out of a carton, and people messaged me and they were like, this is not for Instagram, like this is so minging, so gross. And I was just like, fuck yeah, this is Paul McCarthy, like, you know, living through me. And like, so yeah, I picked this piece because it was the first piece I saw of his, or that I researched into. I can't fucking find the actual video.
I think, oh, I know, I looked for so long trying to find any sort of clip from that video, but I feel like you talking about like how that made you feel for the first time, and it makes me think of this one piece that I know that I've told you about like a million times, so I still can't stop thinking about it, but this one video piece that I saw when I was across the pond once upon a time, and it stuck with me for so long. I thought about it constantly after I first saw it because it was just so disturbing and repulsive. Like, I feel like when art can make you feel like that, it is, I think, the most memorable emotion you can feel, like above anger, above beauty, above awe and wonder. Like, is this like, and so this is what the Paul McCarthy video that we keep talking about in Standing is like. He talks about your gut. Like, the whole point of Paul McCarthy's work is to feel something in your gut, like not take into consideration of like, oh, how should I feel? How should I approach this in a institutionalized or an academic sense? it's like, no, like all that goes out the window. Like, how do you feel? Do you want to like, what's your first response? Do you want to go and puke in the corner? Do you want to like laugh out loud? Do you want to like look away or like shudder and like completely walk out the room? Like, how do you feel in your gut? Like, what is your first and like primal instinct? And I think that is like such an amazing like pocket of what art can do and how it can make you access different parts of yourself.
And the funny thing is though, that like I was never taught that. That was never a discussion that I had with anyone, whether that was my peers or minus you, or like my tutors, or like, that was never something that was raised in lectures and seminars in my art school education. And I just think that that's just something that is so interesting, the fact that that just kind of gets completely bypassed, like the fact that it is something that is completely personal, and like that's the point.
Yeah, totally. And that's like the success in it, really.
Anyway, let's talk about Sailor's Meat. Let's talk about what it is. Do you want to talk about it?
About which one, sorry?
Sailor's Meat. We didn't actually talk about what it was.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could do that. Sailor's Meat, it emphasizes the contingent nature of the erotic. And it kind of just talks about it, like exactly what you and I were just saying, how it's like this like seeing something that's so out of context that it's like really jarring for a viewer to see. And so he takes like these everyday banal foods into the work to like desexualize the performance, but like still acting in these like very explicit sexual acts, which then render the same food disgusting. And so you're kind of are at this back and forth of like, oh, I like, I put ketchup and mayo on my burger, but then he's like rubbing it all over his body, and all of a sudden you're like, I never want to put those foods in my mouth ever again. And so it's this weird like duality, this back and forth. And so there's this quote, and I just think it so perfectly sums this up. It's so perfectly put, is sexuality where it does not belong is problematic because it constitutes a violation of the expected social arrangement.
Like, that is like so perfect.
Totally. And that's why you feel like so violated. You're like, dude, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there. I did not like, this is not what I signed up for when I went to go and look at this work.
I just also think the idea of like an expected social arrangement, like that like those words together are just so interesting to me. The fact that that exists, that is something that actually exists and that we are part of, and like the fact that he challenges that is so like amazing.
Yeah, totally. Let's talk about one more Paul McCarthy work, and then I want to move on to Rebecca Goyette, who I just recently fell in love with. So we chose the 1992 Props series as our other Paul McCarthy work to chat about. So this is where he photographed many of the toys and masks that he had used in earlier performances and videos. And these masks are like dense with the like dirt and grime and food and like scuffs and just like so gross from all of the performances that he was doing. And so they're like, and of course Paul McCarthy doesn't work small. There's these like massive, like colossal heads and props and everything, and it just like encapsulates 2 decades worth of work. And this just like forces adult fantasies about childhood into conflict with that truly like childish behaviors. It's like finding your old toys that are like just completely out of context, like things that were so like light and innocent, of like a child like playing with food and they get it in their Barbie's hair, but then that Barbie gets lost under the bed, and then all of a sudden years later you pull it out and it's like, what? Like it's like, I don't know, it's like a different context now looking back on that. It's like I don't know, can be like an interesting experience.
Yeah, no, totally. Like that comparison is like so yeah, that comparison is so interesting because it also like not only takes you back to a time where you were playing with this Barbie, but like you're kind of thinking about like the way we play and like the notions of play and playfulness in adulthood as well. Like that all is so interesting to me, and that's something that he like really does tap into. So I think that the prop series, I would love to see that in real life. Like I think that would be so cool to see. And I wonder like if he displays them kind of like on plinths or whether they're like behind a like glass or something. I wonder how it actually is exhibited, because I think that would also add to it as well, whether you could like smell them or like what they would feel like. And then also like if they were behind glass, it would be kind of like almost like a, I don't know, like a museum vitrine or something. It would just be really interesting to kind of see how preciously he preserves them.
Yeah, I would love to go to a Paul McCarthy retrospective.
I know, why did we not think to fucking put him in our March miniseries?
Well, because I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if I want to sell my soul to the devil, like go to a Paul McCarthy exhibit and then go directly to hell. Like, I just don't know if that's like oh no, I was saying because I wanted to like stumble upon it. I didn't want to like actively be like, okay, I'm going to go see, like, I would love to just like be somewhere and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was happening, and just like come upon it, but then also be there for like a weekend, because I don't know if I could take in like his life's work in one day. I feel like that would be like too much.
I think that would be insane. That is different for sure. Like I feel like it would be an experience, but maybe not like an experience, you know?
Yeah, like I think I'd want to like take a week. Be like, go for a day, digest, go for another day, digest.
Yeah. I feel like you could spend so much time in like the space that like of his work. I think it would just be insane.
Like yes and no, but like because like how like they were saying that video how like it's impossible to look at, but it's impossible to look away.
Right. Yeah. So like whether you would like, you know, never want to eat again and like just feel so sick you want to leave. But I think I would just be so like, because I'm so invested in him and I love him so much. I think I would be able to like push that to the side, you know, like I would be there all day.
Yeah, totally. So TBD. Hopefully we'll go see Paul McCarthy.
Anyone want to like PayPal us some money for flights?
For whenever we can fly again.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on. I'm so happy that you showed me Rebecca Goyette.
You're so welcome.
I'm like, this is, Shay and I were talking about how when we first were introduced to Marina Abramovich and how we just were like literally heart eye emoji, like starstruck for this woman. And now I'm like, Rebecca Goyette.
I feel like with Marina though, I was walking around with heart eye emojis for like a good 2 years after I just like I not shut the fuck up about that woman and her work. And
yeah, like
I feel like it's the same vibe with Rebecca Goyette, but like kind of different because taboo. I hate that. I fucking hate that taboo. Like why is there such a thing as taboo anymore? You know? Yeah. If it's anyway, that's a side note. Maybe we should do a job taboo.
That could be good.
Tantalizing.
Ooh, write it down. Okay, so Rebecca Goyette, she's a multidisciplinary artist, and she combines video, performance, costuming, ceramic sculpture, drawing, and painting in her practice.
She's a Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. And I feel like with like something that I find so inspiring with her is how fluidly she moves in between her different disciplines. Like she'll kind of have like a concept or an idea, and she will like draw it, she'll paint it, she'll like build props and then make a video and then use the props, and then when she like installs the whole thing, have everything installed together. Like it all just like influences one another, and like it just creates such a like full and like rich picture of of the concept she's exploring.
And that's something that you like have struggled with in the past, is like, you know, making this hierarchy of your work and things that you're like, yo, I'm a video artist, and then you're like, but I kind of want to make like stuff, like I want to do like set stuff, and then I'm like, well, make set stuff, and you're like, yeah, but I'm a video artist. I'm like, girl, you're an artist, like do whatever the fuck you want. And I really am glad that you like that kind of shone through for you, because it's something that we've talked about this many times before, and I know that you're getting better, and it is something that you need to try and dismantle, because you can be all.
Yeah, definitely. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, except there's clearly something that's more important than the other things.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that your emphasis on importance of one medium, and it's just like, no matter what you're doing, like everything that you're making is important. And that goes for all of our viewers out there. If you're artists, like everything is important. Even if you're doing like sketches on Procreate, like, mate, that's fucking part of your practice. Like, don't discredit yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything influences one another. Even if you do drawings, but they don't end up in the same exhibition as like your sculptures, like they still are relevant to one another.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just love that about her. So I like, that's what I want to do. Anyway, so what she does in her work though, so her work really like reflects on fantasy and fulfillment from a feminist perspective. Alliteration. So she explores power dynamics and oppression inherent in gender and sexuality, and she celebrates sex positivity through a comedic lens, which is so beautiful. Like
literally so perfect for like me. Like when I found her, I was like, this is me. This is what I want to do. I just like, I love like the parallels of my practice with hers, and I'm just like, she's like one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to like the work that I do exploring sex, because she does it in such a like an amazing way, and like takes inspiration from like porn, and like all just her whole like practice, and all of her beliefs are just like so, yeah, perfection.
And yeah, I appreciate a comedic lens, like working through comedy, because obviously, like as we all know, like the art world is so serious, and there's such an important place on serious work, and you are kind of told like that you're not going to be taken seriously if your work isn't serious. And like just seeing serious work is like, it's just such a bummer. There's enough like shit going on in the world. Like it's nice to have a work that like can make you laugh, and like that there's like just such an important part of that, and there is absolutely a place for humorous work. More people should be making humorous work, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that being said though, so making like celebrate sex positivity through a comedic lens while simultaneously examining the psychology of sexual violence. So again, with a duality here. Don't want to overuse the word, but it's just so good.
The duality, I almost said it, I said it duality because you said it like that. The duality of like the violent kind of undertones, it kind of like makes it more real. So yes, she's like got this very comedic, humorous take, but she's being real, she's being authentic and honest and raw. And that is like something that there's a lot of things you can't explore without exploring something else. So there's no way to possibly explore sex without like the beauty of sex and like the pleasure, the whole pleasure like elements, without exploring things that are more hard-hitting and more raw and real, and the reality of those kind of themes. So yeah, fully very
and like comedy can just be comedy, it can just be humorous, and that's like totally fine. But oftentimes comedy is used as like an entry point, like a point of like accessibility, to be like, okay, like I've laughed at this work, I'm here, I'm like, I'm with you, I get you, and then hits you with like something that's deeper and more like can be trickier to like access on its own. And now she's like drawn you in and you're like, oh, now I'm thinking about more things. Like, anyways, so Rebecca Goyette, we wanted to just mention, like, she like has lectured at MoMA and the Met and the Pratt Institute. She's a professor. I don't know if she is right now, but she is, I think she is currently a professor at the Pratt Institute.
From what I saw on, she still works there. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want her as my lecturer. I've never had a female lecturer.
Wait, what?
We've talked about this.
That's not very good. I guess we'll just move on. That's an issue.
Yeah, I know. It's a big issue.
Didn't have any female tutors in your entire time at art school.
The only female contact that I had was with like techs, like technicians.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the pleasure of having Jen Clark as my dissertation supervisor. And that's it.
That's honestly insane to me. Anyways, well, let's talk about that some more later. But yeah, would love to have her as a professor. And also last year, she led a series of adult education workshops called Maker's Magic that focused on the intersections between art making, sexuality, and ritual. I want to do that.
When I found out that she did this course, I like went straight away and was like, is this still happening? It's not. But I would like to sign up, subscribe, and turn on the button for notifications, because if she ever is doing Maker's Magic again, like I will be there front row, even if it's on Zoom.
Yeah, same. Anyways, so I just want to read this. I won't even pretend that I'm saying this and not reading it because this language is so good. But her work reflects her penchant for bizarro Americana through the lens of improvisational alter egos.
We are just obsessed with the term bizarro Americana. Like I went through a big like suburbia phase. Like I feel like we all went through a Tumblr suburbia phase, but like I'm still obsessed with that whole aesthetic, and the word like bizarro Americana just like screams like just, you know, like drive-throughs and like nightlife, and like I just love, and like just like kitschy, like ugly kitschy stuff. And I just think like bizarro Americana is like the most incredible like thematic reference ever, and I wish that I was American or lived in America so that I could be like, I'm gonna steal this and do this.
Okay, like yes, but also like, ew, America, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't. As soon as I said it, I was like, no. I'll just come to Canada instead.
Yeah, not America has some great things. Don't get me wrong.
But
anyways, so speaking of like how we were saying that she uses like a comedic lens to get to something darker or more serious, she also says that like because she works so much with sex and sexuality, she says that sex is one gateway into the rich territory of psychology and human interaction, into the remotest ranges of the subconscious. And so again, just like I feel like her work is so rich because she uses these tools that are like instantly like recognizable to us, like sex and humor, to dive into something so much deeper.
Yeah.
So her persona-based works look at the queer fantasy paradigm, and her work highlights sexual desires and challenges conventions of pornography playfully by proving women's desires are way more vulgar, strange, and sexy than male-geared porn ever depicted.
So again, I think that was either taken from her website or someone else wrote that about her work, but we just wanted to read it and quote it because it is basically the most incredible thing ever. Like, we obviously talk a lot about sex together. Just that's like an important thing to discuss. And like, I just think the whole, like, I have a big issue with porn just in general. That sounds like I'm not a porn addict. I'm saying that I have an issue with porn. Like, I do not like porn. It's a disclaimer. So I forgot what I was going to say, but so I have basically porn is male dominated in that it's made for porn. I just can't stop thinking about this fact. I basically just said that I have like a porn addiction. I do not. It is geared for men. It's typically made by men for men. And the way that women's sexuality is explored, like, yeah, it's getting a bit better. You know, you've got like Erica Lust and all that shit. So like, it's good that that's kind of like those kind of spaces exist, and women's pleasure, non-binary folk, trans people, like there's a lot more happening. But as a structured thing, porn is for men by men, and the things that women are into and the things that women want to see just aren't shown. And there's a lot of terrible porn out there, and I think that the fact that she really takes that, like harnesses that, and is very aware of that, and addresses that in her work is so inspiring to me. Like like a lot of her videos are very much like watching porn, but like not, because they're so like wild. And she has these amazing costumes, so which we'll get into when we talk about a couple of different examples. But yeah, like just her focus on porn and challenging that is so amazing, and something that like I just love so much, and because there's not very many works like that exist.
Mm-hmm. I feel like on that note, like male-centered porn is normally just about like penetrative sex, where, can we talk about this on YouTube? I think we can.
I'm sure. We're not monetized or anything.
But yeah, male-centered porn is like primarily just penetrative sex, and that's kind of like the main event of it all. And like sex for like women, non-binary, trans people, like it just in that umbrella, like it's so much more complex. And there's what's so special about sex is like everything around sex. And I feel like that is like a perfect way to kind of go into Rebecca's work. We have a couple works we want to talk about. The first one is called Lobstopus, Lobstopussy, made in 2013. So this is
my favorite piece ever.
Is it? My favorite piece is the Crustacean Temptation, which we'll get to in a sec.
Which I also think I also love that one too. I forgot which.
If this one's your fave work, how about you talk about this one?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, this work was made in 2013. It's a video piece, roughly 20 minutes long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Rebecca shot this work, made this work when she was on a residency on the uninhabited Greek island of Merope. So she was like doing a residency and basically was just like gonna, get some of the local talent, and filmed this amazing video. So basically, Goyette is like the main character. In most of her works, she features in all of her works, but in most of them she is the main character. There's a lot of other people involved in on screen too, but her role was pushy American, and basically this character is seen to travel. No, I'm reading that so wrong. So she created a travel sex film in the vein of the TV American TV classic Gilligan's Island, which neither of us have seen. If you're familiar with it, I think it's like a show from the 60s or something. And so there's like a quintessential ginger, like hypersexualized young movie star, and in this video she taps into that kind of stereotype. So I'm gonna just read like this is the description of the plot from her website, because it is just fucking hilarious. Like like reading this on its own, like you don't even have to watch the video, like you get a sense for the video. So it says, Lobster Girl voyaged hoping to explore hot Greek lobster men in double-dick Speedos. Instead, fell for an 8-dicked octopus stud and came home to New York City pregnant, giving birth to a lobsterpuss baby aided by bisexual doulas performing orgasmic water birth in a butter bath. Lobster Girl reminisced on her Greek lobster and octopus erotic odyssey. Let's all just take a moment for that.
Oh my God.
So if you haven't guessed already, this is basically a porno, but so much more intricate and characterized and rich and real. And even though it's, you know, with lobsters. So like, what do you want to say about this? Because I can't. I have no words.
So the first thing I want to say is that Rebecca Goyette has blessed us with putting almost all of her full-length films on her website. So we can link the website down below. Like you can actually go and watch the whole 20-minute video, should you so desire, of Lobsterpussy.
And like that never happens, man. Like when do you actually, unless you're a student or they're a student, like when do you actually have full access to their whole library of video work? So easily accessible though, it's all in the same place.
Yeah, like never, like we were just saying that we can't find any full-length works from Paul McCarthy. Like fortunately there's so much on him, and so you can kind of get a sense, but like that just doesn't happen. So like definitely take advantage of that in case she one day changes her mind and takes them down. But yeah, I honestly think people just need to see this work. It's so funny. I loved it. I just watched it this morning, the full thing.
Yeah, it's definitely something that like as an introduction, this is the first piece that I saw by her, and as an introduction it really gives you like a good like a good like kind of landscape to kind of be like, okay, now I know what I'm in for, and I'm gonna binge watch them all. But then I also wanted to kind of talk about works that weren't, because she obviously doesn't just do video. So I will also want to talk a little bit about Fortuna's Wheel, which is a series from 2019, and it's a drawing series, and she had an exhibition that was all about this. So she had like sculptures and I think probably some moving image works, but mainly like sculpture and drawing, and some paintings as well. And she basically in 2019, she discovered that she was the direct ancestor of Rebecca Nurse, which was a woman who was hanged as a Salem witch. And so she's been exploring notions and different aspects of witchcraft in her practice, which is kind of something different to what she was doing prior to that. And then so Fortuna's Wheel is basically just a series of colored pencils, drawings, that kind of explore witchcraft, but also they still have her typical like erotic musings, things about like family histories, and also like time travel as well taps into there too. So we'll show some on the screen just now, some examples of what they look like, and they're really such playful drawings. I love her drawings and paintings as well, not particularly, well, I do love this series, but like her other ones as well. There's one that I put in my sketchbook where it was just basically like this massive orgy, and like we'll see if I can find it as like a massive orgy, like just people like sucking dick, and like it's just like so amazing that she's just like, fuck yeah, I want to draw this, and she draws it. I just love that.
It was such like a freedom, honestly, in both her and Paul McCarthy's work to just like do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about Crustacean Temptation. Um, so this was made in 2019. It was created in Berlin, and like Lobsterpussy, this work has a bunch of other people involved in it. And so she actually cast most of her her crew that she worked with on Tinder. Um, so this film's experimental travel sex video is following a group of Berlin's art and music club and LGBTQ kink scenesters, and they were invited into a co-created space of a lobster sexual adventure where Goyette's sadomasochistic lobster labia avatar embraces it all. So Goyette remarks, when strangers come together to perform in an orgiastic, pleasure-centered way, the chance for surprise chemistry and co-created fantasy space can develop, and that shared fantasy asserted itself into the public space of Berlin. So I feel like this goes exactly back to this point of like non-male dominated pornography, where this like, I love the word orgiastic, pleasure-centered way. Like there's just so much like around it, and like I can't even really describe it. Like we're gonna play a little clip of this video actually, to kind of so you can get an idea of it. But before that, I'll just finish reading what she has to say about it, and then we'll cut to the video. But an active psychological exploration of intimacy between strangers reveals touch, desire, and the sexual gaze can extend beyond one's own preferences, beyond social constructs of monogamy and monoliths such as heteronormativity and the social graces of the public space. The Berlin lobster porn stars created their own rules, and their own games were playful, gender bending, and radical.
So like you'll see when we show you now, like this film was just filmed during the day. Like she probably picked like a fucking Saturday or Sunday, like a weekend day when she knew that folk would be out and about. She filmed this in public, like this is real. And it is basically just this massive orgy, like gender does not matter. Like it's just about sex, and it's just about like intimacy and like bodies and people. Like it's just so like fucking weird, but like I love it so much.
Yes, same. So without further ado,
Let's see. So can I just first of all point out the lady with the binoculars with the tiny fucking binoculars, like that just, oh my god, I was crying at that when I first watched it.
Oh, like the fact that it's like the tiny binoculars, and right beside her it's just a lady eating her lunch on a paper plate. Oh my god. Oh, so good.
When I first watched this, I was like, this is insane. I've never seen like a video that like this that then just showcases like the public's reaction. Like she edited that in, you know, like she made that conscious choice to edit that in, and I just think that is so funny, and it adds so much to the piece as well. It's just wild. Like you in terms of like the actual context of the video and what they're doing, like you can see that they're like simulating sex. Like they are fully clothed, but they're like thrusting and like rubbing each other and like obviously making these fucking noises. So like it's kind of taking this like private intimate act into the public realm, and like the fact that like they're not having sex. So like I was thinking to myself, I was like, would the police have been called? Like if this was in like Scotland or the UK or something, like would this have been like a criminal offense to actually be doing this? And I was thinking to myself, like, they're not actually having sex. There's no dicks out, there's no like nudity. It's just like suggestive and like makes you feel like, I just wonder what those people thought when they saw this. And also just like the fact that when you watch it, it makes you feel like, like I'm just like watching porn in public, but at the same time it's like you're not, because they literally like are fully clothed and they're acting.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it just pulls the melding of public and private and like intimate acts that are explicit, but also, I mean, you said innocent. I don't know if like we could call it innocent, but it's not like.
Of course it's innocent. There's no penetration. There's no like clits and fucking balls and stuff. Like it is completely innocent. They're just acting.
Okay,
no?
I don't know if you could like, if you were like a mother with your kid out for a walk, that you could be like, oh, that's innocent.
No, I don't think I'd be.
Oh, they're just having fun. They're just playing. I mean, like, I love it.
Well, we need to disagree on that. That's so funny to think that. There's also another scene that I want to like. What were you gonna say? Something?
Oh no, I just don't. I feel like we've been talking for so long, but also I'm like,
it's fine. I'm
okay.
I'm fine with this.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another scene that I wanted to talk about where it's towards the end, and so the women, like all of the like crustacean women are like lined up, and then there's like crustacean men with like, you know, they're like they you didn't really see it in that shot there, but if you watch it back you'll see that they have like the costumes have like dicks, like really long pink dicks like sewn onto their fronts, and so the women are all standing in a row and they're like suggestively putting on lipstick, and then like it slowly just becomes more and more like smeared on their faces, and they're making all these noises and being all like, oh, and like touching their bodies, and there's like a bush in between the line of men and women, and then there's this bush that separates them, and like the guys are just like jerking off, and they end up like, oh, I don't know if I can say, they use whipped cream at the end to simulate the end, and so it is like explicit, but also when you actually think about what's happening, it's just entirely not like explicit. And then when you watch it you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like it's explicit but like it's not real.
Well, yeah, I think
that's where we want to draw the line.
Yeah,
so I think time to compare, contrast, talk about the overall context and them together.
I feel like, yeah, I think we should maybe like, I'm just conscious of like this episode being super long, so maybe we could just like kind of like whiz through this, and like this can kind of like, if you want to make any conclusions or have any kind of, not final thoughts, but like kind of, yeah, maybe voice them at this point as well.
Yeah, let's whiz through this. I like that. Okay, so I mean, a lot of this kind of says what we've already said. So this can kind of be like a recap of the episode. Like the purpose of the work is to evoke a primitive response, whether that be, again, like nausea, laughing out loud, repulsion, intrigue, curiosity, and plays with human taboos and the idea of taste, good taste, bad taste, and McCarthy sets out to eradicate taste altogether. And yeah, I think so. When they said that, because our BFF Robert Storr from the Henny Talks, he says that to get past taste is to get past bad taste, because bad taste has been institutionalized too. And I thought that was really interesting, because I feel like we all, like, taste is something we all kind of talk about and sort of have agreed upon, but not something that I've personally looked too far into. So I just looked a little bit into taste, and I found that taste is defined as an individual's personal, cultural, and aesthetic patterns of choice and preference. But to kind of bring it back to our last episode, which talked a lot about how just how there's a lot of wealth and class and those sorts of like advantages in the art world, like they're so obvious in the art world. And so I feel like taste and class really go hand in hand. And like people in positions of power, whether that's with their wealth or political or celebrity influence or an academic sense, are there. Those are the ones who generally get to define what good taste and bad taste is. And that is how taste has been institutionalized. Like you see the like the Louis Vuitton puts out like a fancy handbag, and that's like good taste, and people who are rich have the Louis Vuitton bag. But then when like a lower class person goes and buys a knockoff Louis Vuitton from like a little pop-up shop in a market, all of a sudden it's like tacky and like fake and bad taste. Like I think it's just like that's exactly what like Paul McCarthy, like why he feels it's so important to like abolish taste altogether, because he's very critical of these like structures of how people in positions of power get to dictate what is good and what is bad. And so Paul McCarthy, any money that he gets from his work, he puts directly back into his work. And he does so in a way where he, to like kind of quote Robert Storr again, he takes the dirty art world money and he figuratively and literally shits it out. He's like, what could I spend $2 million on? Like what, like just to take the piss out of the art world. And so one of his works, like he is all about obviously working large scale, and he makes this like a massive, large blow up sculpture, and it's called Tree, but it's actually just a big green butt plug.
But he also has done that thing where he had like a chocolatier in a gallery, and they did like hundreds of thousands of chocolate butt plugs, like as a comment on consumerism, as a comment on like shitting out the money of the art world. Like that in itself like is so funny to me and like so stupid, and just like if I was to see that without any context, I would be like, this is terrible art. I'd be like, I fucking hate this. Like, how dare the art world do me like this? But like with knowing him and knowing his practice and knowing that like, yeah, everything he makes, he just like churns back into the art world in something more ludicrous and more of a commentary. Like it just makes me so like obsessed with him.
Yeah, totally. I'm just looking through this and I just feel like we've said a lot of this stuff already before.
Hi guys, so we just realized that we didn't actually talk about the significance of us being dressed as ketchup and mayo. We just completely forgot to actually mention it, but basically the symbolism comes from Paul McCarthy's work, and he uses in a lot of his work like just these banal everyday condiments like mayo and ketchup, and he sometimes uses mustard and stuff like that to resemble certain bodily fluids. So it's a massive part of his work just in general. And yes, we didn't actually explain that's we said we were going to, but we just didn't. So that's just the explanation for our outfits, because we actually didn't even tell you. Back to the video.
Something that I want to say is kind of like a note to, like, I guess other emerging artists, but also students as well. Like, in terms of like bad taste and good taste, I think it took me a really long time to actually realize that like, I know I've said this already, like, art doesn't have to be pretty, you know. Like, for a long time I really disregarded a lot of works because they didn't fit my aesthetic, or they like looked kind of ugly, or I didn't like that specific color. Like that happened, that I was very much that for like pretty much like my whole art school career until maybe like fourth year, when I really started to actually question why am I like not giving this work the time of day. And I think that like that's something that you should it's so institutionalized. And if you're going to art school, like, fuck that. Like, don't limit yourself to the artists that people give you or that you're exposed to at art school, that you learn about at art school. Like, expand your horizons in a way that challenges yourself. Like, if you had put Rebecca Goyette or Paul McCarthy's work in front of me, like sat me down with no context, like 2 years ago, I would have been like, this is fucking trash, I can't believe I'm watching this. Like, there would be no, like, I think that just really like understanding the whole kind of like idea of taste and like things that are grotesque, things that are gut-wrenching, like that is still to have like a response, like a visceral response and like a personal response that is like just so much more powerful than work that you just think looks nice. Like, I just think that is just the main thing that I really wanted to like get across in this, because like I just really hope that if you came to this episode, if you saw the title and were like, oh my god, Paul McCarthy, like I cannot stand, I don't get it, I don't know what the fuss is about, like I really hope that at least on a contextual level you'll maybe just appreciate it and like maybe want to kind of find out more, or like come up with your own conclusions. Like, let us know, like comment in the comment below and tell us what you think of these pieces. And if you disagree with us, fuck yeah, tell us why. Like, this is the whole point, is like discursive discussions that we want to have and engage with.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not have to agree with us at all on any of this, and we would like love to hear why. Like, that's like, I feel like this was kind of funny. I was telling Shay this earlier, how I feel like we're very critical on this series, and so I feel like this is kind of the first time that you and I have just absolutely just spent an hour on however long we've been doing this, just like God love. But yeah, I feel like that was the most beautiful closing notes, Shay. Like, I love that. I completely agree with you. And I think everyone should go and make something that's ugly and make something that maybe scares them. Go and like get out of your comfort zone.
Make something that's ugly and then tag us on Instagram, and we might do another mini series called Your Ugly Art.
Yes. I think we could do a whole Jawbreaker on ugly art.
I would love to do that. Comment below if you want to see that. Also, follow us on Instagram because we do mini series. And also, as another side note, this is genuinely how we do come up with all of our ideas. Like, it'll just be a stupid thing one of us has said and the other one is like, should we do this? And like, so the way that just played out in real time, that's it, baby.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for just, I don't know, I feel like I usually say thanks for coming everyone, but it's not live, but also thank you for being here.
Oh my God, we
Like, comment, subscribe.
To turn on the little bell notification to get notified every time we bloody post.
We're really excited about this. I don't know if you could tell.
We are actual, like, I feel like YouTuber has been my calling since I was about 8 years old. So
here we are.
Share this video with your art friends. Share this video with your non-art friends. Share it with your, I was gonna say mum, but I feel like we talked about a lot of interesting things that maybe your mum might not be interested in, but my mom would be interested in them. So fuck it. Share with your mom, share with your granny, talk about sex, talk about gross things, challenge yourself, challenge your practice, challenge your notions of art if you're not a practicing artist. And also don't forget to like and subscribe.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. We will see you next time.
Thanks, boys.
Bye.